Hello and welcome back to the most amazing channel on the internet. I am your host Rebecca Felgate, and today we're talking the top 10 creepy cases of demonic possession. Why? Because that's just what we do here. We're straight up spook dukes and we will not be stopped. You can try, but you will fail. Before we get into this video, I want you guys to tell me what your star sign is, just because, because. Also, can you guys guess mine? Thoughts and feedback in the comment section down below. Now is a great time to like this video. If you like our content, why not share it with a friend? Why not check out the links in our description box to our sources and our most amazing Instagrams. That way you can connect with us even when we don't have a video out. Although let's be honest, we love producing videos. But still, more of us. Hurrah! Stick around to the end because I'm going to be replying to some comments. Coming in at number 10, we have Julia. Julia is my sister's name. Also, on the day of scripting this video, it is her birthday, so happy birthday, Julia. The best human alive, bar none. This story is not about my sister though, and while I'm sure I've made the odd demonically possessed joke about her in our youth, she most definitely is free of the devil. The Julia in this story, however, is filled with him. Apparently. A Yale graduate and self-expressed man of science, Dr. Richard Gallagher, experienced a possession so dastardly that it had him question his beliefs. The Ivy League educated, board-certified psychiatrist who teaches at Columbia University and the New York Medical College came across a woman named, you guessed it, Julia. Well, that's what we're calling her, anyway. She was a strange woman with flowing black clothes and gothic makeup. She proclaimed herself queen of a satanic cult, but she had approached a priest because she was worried that she was possessed. Gallagher said that objects would fly off shelves around her and she knew odd details about Gallagher's life. The professor said that Julia started appearing to him even when she wasn't there. Creepy. Coming into number 9, bear with me on the pronunciation here, we have the WAINUIOMATA MAKUTU lifting. That was a mouthful. In 2009, a teenage girl died and another had her eyes gouged out during a Maori exorcism performed by her relatives who believed that they were cursed. The teens had stolen a lion statue from outside a pub and therefore were subjected to a several-day-long exorcism despite returning it. The surviving teenager recounted the experience, saying that her family stood around her in a circle in water and her grandparents actually came home and told her to go with peace and love. She arrived at hospital with her eyes oozing blood and claimed that she'd been forced to drink urine and repeatedly was kicked by her family. The lengthy trial of the girl's family members lasted 29 days. It made headlines and caused a lot of controversy as many Maori people supported the practice of MAKUTU. One uncle and 4 aunts were found guilty of the drowning and abuse. Honestly, so intense. So is demonic possession real or can it easily be faked? Consider this at number 8. That's right, we are talking about Martha Brossier. Martha Brossier lived in the mid-1500s and was accused of fraud after it was suspected that she had actually faked demonic possessions, which at the time did bring her considerable fame. She said she suffered a shortness of breath, she could not stick out her tongue, and she would regularly gnash her teeth together. She'd spasm and complain of voices in her head. How was her fraud discovered? It seems that she was tricked into drinking holy water under the guise of normal water, which reportedly had no effect. Right, so that solved that then. How she was able to speak with her mouth shut in fluent and intelligible French, English and Greek is an utter mystery. Coming into number 7, we have the real exorcism of Emily Rose. So you may have seen the 2005 movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's actually on Netflix and it's quite the horror show. The real Emily Rose is a teenager called Anna Elizabeth Mitchell who lived in a very religious kind of upbringing in Bavaria in West Germany. She attended mass twice a week and was raised in a very Catholic environment. Anna Elise, as she was known, suffered from epilepsy and possible schizophrenia. She began hearing voices and she thought that she was going to rot in hell. She claimed that she would have horrifying visions while she was praying. This obviously concerned her religious family and they were convinced that she was possessed. As a result, her condition then worsened. A local priest also came forward and convinced that actually she was a demon. He said there was a demon in her, so he called for an exorcism in 1975. Bishop Strangle, with the permission of Annalise's parents, conducted 67 exorcisms on the young woman. Now, Emily did die aged 23 after suffering a year of demonic exorcisms during which she was starved. She contracted pneumonia, and she had broken knees from having to kneel so often. It was ruled by courts that her death was preventable, so was she mentally ill or was she possessed? Coming into number 6, we have The Devil Made Me Do It. This is one Ed and Lorraine Warren case that even the pair of spooky investigators who by and large had seen it all were absolutely scared of. The story starts off with an 11-year-old boy named David Glatzel. Along with Catholic priests, the pair were called in to try and rid the boy of demons. Over several days of grueling spiritual work, the group believed that they had exorcised the unwanted spirit. But there was a dramatic twist. The Warrens claimed that the demon actually fled into his brother, 18-year-old Arnes, although they didn't realize at the time. Just months later, Arnie wasn't feeling himself at all, and then one night he killed his landlord in an argument. His defense lawyer argued that he was possessed, and the Warrens were even called in to testify in court. The pair claimed that actually they did believe him to be possessed by none other than the devil. After their testimony, Arnie served just 5 years in jail and was released in his mid-20s. We don't actually know where he is now or what he's up to. I don't even know if the devil was ever exorcised from him. Coming into number 5, we have Mademoiselle Elizabeth de Ranfaing. Mademoiselle Ranfaing became a widow in 1617, after which she was heavily courted by her physician, her doctor. It seems that he would buy her gifts, and after she rejected him, he prescribed her a liquid which was later thought to have been a love potion. She started behaving strangely, but the man continued to treat her with potions. It is thought that he infected her with the devil. The ailments that she suffered led people to believe that she was possessed, and she was exorcised in 1619. During her exorcism, it was said that a demon presented itself and spoke in French, Greek, Latin, and Hebrew, and Italian. The demon was reportedly able to know and recite the thoughts and sins of the various individuals who examined her. The demon was super persistent, but eventually Mademoiselle Ranfaing was cured, thankfully. The physician who had slipped her the potions, unfortunately though for him, was burned alive for practicing magic. Cripes, the 17th century was a very intense time. The stakes were very high. Coming into number 4, one of my favourite historical figures I had no idea they'd been exorcised, we have Salvador Dali. I love me a bit of Salvador Dali, especially in the extreme moustache years. The 20th century surrealist artist created some thought-provoking and subversive work, such as The Persistence of Memory and The Lobster Telephone. Hello. The Spanish visionary regularly offended the Catholic Church, and however in his later life the artist did write in defense of the religion, which is, I guess, kind of confusing. Friar Gabriel Maria Berardi claimed to have performed an exorcism on Dali in France in 1947. Allegedly, the artist created a sculpture of Christ and gave it to the friar as a thank you. The man certainly was quirky, but expressly so in the 1930s and early 40s. Perhaps the genius behind his work all along was the devil, but honestly, if I was going to put my money on it, I'd say it was likely the absinthe. Coming into number 3, we have the TANACU exorcism. Some nasty things went down in Romania. In June 2005, a nun was crucified in the mountain village of TANACU, which, to be honest, what on earth, that's some straight up horror movie stuff, right? Is this the basis for the nun? Sister Irina Konnichi grew up in an orphanage, and following her death, her brother did testify that actually he'd witnessed Satan go into her. It seems that Sister Irina may have been mentally ill, and it was said that she would giggle during mass. It seems that she got into an argument with a 29-year-old priest, Father Chronageu. As a result, he claimed that she was possessed by Satan. Now, she was bound and gagged and exorcised. However, the father claimed that she was beyond salvation. He had her crucified. An article in the Daily Telegraph from 2005 claims that she was found gagged and chained to a cross. After her death, the priest claimed that God had performed a miracle. At her funeral, claps of thunder rang out as the coffin was lowered into the ground, which the priest said was a sign that the will of God had been done. What a nutter, he literally murdered her. Those who were involved in the nun's murder were sentenced to time in jail, but nobody served more than 7 years. If someone crucified me, honestly, I really hope they'd spend the rest of their life in prison. We have a very shocking case at number 2. We have Mother Teresa. Did you know that she was exorcised? Mother Teresa is considered to have been one of the holiest women to have ever lived. The woman received a Nobel Peace Prize, although I will say that other reports say that she was cruel and friends with top leaders of Masonic cults, so I don't know. Mother Teresa fell ill in 1996, breaking her collarbone. Now, months later she contracted malaria and suffered heart failure. It seems that the Archbishop of Calcutta ordered a priest to perform an exorcism because he thought that actually she was under attack by the devil. He said that she was very agitated and removed wires from her body in hospital. She died just a short while later. This is the exorcism case that inspired the movie The Exorcist. Coming into number 1, we have Roland Doe. In the late 1940s, a number of priests performed an exorcism on a boy in the United States. The boy was kept anonymous as he was just 14 years old, with reports being made by the church that actually, there was a devil in there. They gave him the pseudonym of Ronald Doe. It seems that his aunt introduced him to an Ouija board before she died, after which the family experienced a haunting. Events got even worse as objects started flying or levitating when the boy was near. Priests were called in to exorcise him, and during the first procedure, the boy broke free of restraints. He broke a bed spring and then used it to slash a priest. The boy was taken to the Alexian Brothers Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri, where he was placed in a psychiatric wing before his next exorcism. Doctors and nurses said that the words hell and evil appeared in marks on his body. Finally, the demon was exorcised and the hospital was later razed. Blimey, what a dramatic list! That was the top 10 cases of demonic possession, and honestly, I'm feeling pretty exhausted, like I myself have been through an exorcism. What did you guys think to this list? Do you believe in exorcisms? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And don't forget to let me know what your star sign is, because why not? Before we go, I'm gonna read some comments from one of my most recent videos, the top 10 cursed paranormal games you should never play. Ben Myers said, I'm not playing any of these, life is hard enough without being haunted. Ben, honestly, I feel you. Bexa1225 said, stuffing dolls with rice, pricking your finger with blood, and knocking on a wooden door 22 times? Counting mirrors? What happened to Monopoly? Honestly, some very good questions there. What did happen to Monopoly? Honestly, I will say though, Monopoly is a pretty savage game, and perhaps I'd rather call upon the devil's dog than my crazy aunt who just wants to win. Joseph Matter said that he wants to play Settlers of Catan with me, and I love that, although I will say be warned, Joseph, I will straight up be on that longest road tactic, and you can't stop me. Good. Thank you guys for watching this video. We've got a whole playlist, so do stick around. If you haven't yet liked this video, make sure you do leave a thumbs up and let me know that you love our content. Check out the links in the description box for our source link so you can read more about the topic, and also you can check out our most amazing Instagrams. I'm your host Rebecca Felgate, a spooky duke if ever you saw one. Gender not important here. I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Thank you so much to our fabulous subscriber Kevin080592 for this list idea. We absolutely love it when you guys make suggestions, so if you have a suggestion that you want us to make into a top 10 list, then please do leave it in the comment section down below. Thanks Kevin, this one's for you.